Hello and welcome to another episode of the CUFI Weekly, and this week we need to talk about the situation in Rafah. The IDF launched operations in Rafah recently, and over the weekend there was a tragic situation when a strike on a Hamas target killed multiple civilians. Now look, it goes without saying that the deaths of any innocent civilian is a tragedy on any side. There's no ifs, there's no buts. That is just a simple fact. And we mourn the deaths of innocent women and children, regardless of what side they are from. Preliminary investigations by the IDF believe that after the initial strike, a Hamas weapons store caused the fire, which then spread and killed people in the displaced people's camp. Now, the IDF is still investigating this incident, and they will publish their findings when they have all of the information. It is a well-established fact that Hamas hide behind civilians. It's a well-established fact that Hamas fire rockets and other armaments from civilian targets. Literally the last week, we saw rockets being fired from Rafah at Tel Aviv. So there can be no doubt about that. We've seen renewed calls and hashtags using the tags such as All Eyes on Rafah. First and foremost, we can never forget why this war is happening. This war is happening because of what happened on October 7th. This war is happening because there are hostages still being held. Most likely in Rafah, there are hostages and hostages' bodies which have been retrieved from Rafah. We can't forget that. And you can use the hashtag All Eyes on Rafah as much as you want. While your eyes are on Rafah, please keep a lookout for the hostages. Because if they had come home, and if Hamas had surrendered, this war would have ended much, much earlier. For those people who are now backtracking, for those people who supported Israel's legitimate war to get its citizens back, to eradicate Hamas, the terror group that attacked it on October 7th, for those people now backtracking, what did you think this war would look like? War is a terrible thing. There is no doubt about that. War is a terrible thing, and at times a necessary evil. And in war, terrible things happen. Just this past weekend, we marked Memorial Day in the United States. And one of the soldiers that we remember who died in combat is Pat Tillman, the Arizona quarterback who played in the NFL, but then after 9/11 decided to serve his country. Pat Tillman was killed in what we call a friendly fire incident. A horrible misunderstanding, and it was his own military which fired on him and killed him. This is what happens in war. Tragic accidents happen. And there is no justifying that civilians have died, and no one is trying to do that. But this is war. War is chaotic, war is dangerous, and people die. And the IDF are dealing with a situation where they are dealing with an enemy which is embedded within the civilian population. They don't always wear uniforms. They have no qualms about hiding behind civilians and using them as human shields. And Israel has taken every length to investigate every single tragedy and accident that has happened. And it has done so with transparency while fighting this war. If you ask any veteran from the US wars against terrorism in Afghanistan or Iraq, they will tell you of the horrors of war. Make no mistake, and we can't pretend that that is not a reality. But this for Israel is a necessary war. It is dealing with an evil that we can't even fathom. Norway and Spain and Ireland to say that they recognize a Palestinian state in Gaza. Really? You are that blind. You are that ignorant and that detached from reality that the people who committed this atrocity on October 7th, you're going to reward them? That doesn't make any sense, and by any metric is absolutely mind-boggling. But that's the reality we have. Because when it comes to Israel, when it comes to the Jewish state, there is a completely different set of rules, and the international order just doesn't seem to exist. Fighting terrorism doesn't matter. Getting their hostages doesn't matter. Fighting an enemy who embeds itself in the civilian population and fires rockets at population centers in Israel, none of that seems to matter. None of that garners the sympathy or the understanding it should. And that is why it is so important that every single one of us continues to tell Israel's story, continues to remind the world of what happened on October 7th, continues to ensure that America, not just this generation, but for generations after, always stands with Israel and the Jewish people. It is literally in our hands. So we have to make a choice to speak up, because silent support is not support at all, it's cowardice. This is Kasim Hafeez for the CUFI Weekly. For Zion's sake, do not remain silent.
Thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification every time a new episode hits. And if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, and we've got some really good ones, click on one of the thumbnails and that will take you right there. And finally, if you want to know more about CUFI and the work we do, go to CUFI.org to check out all the resources we have available free to you.